Okay, hello. We're starting the Diamond Draft review for ISL season. Are we on nine? Nine?
9.
Okay. And the first team that we've got here is Heroes team. Oh, but we didn't introduce ourselves. I'm Tago, and this is Rick. And I guess that everyone who's actually in the call already knows us, so maybe that was unnecessary.
It probably was.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. This is a really good team to start with because I think that it is one of my favorites from what I've looked at in the Diamond draft, actually.
You're saying one of the better teams?
Yeah, I think the first three mons just have so much synergy. Like you think, okay, fire, water, grass core, checkbox, they check it off. Then also the psychic, fighting, and dark core gets checked off within three Pokemon. And so, like when you're thinking about what comes in on Victini, it just U-turns out so easily into Keldeo or Zarude to answer those Pokemon. Like water types, you can U-turn out and go into Zarude. Same thing for Keldeo. You flip turn out, go into Zarude. For the poison waters or poison grasses that check Keldeo, flip turn out, go into Victini. And they just have such a good offensive and defensive profile together that I'm like, plus pivoting as well. They pivot into each other so easily that I think these three as your breaker core and your three most expensive mons is just I'm very happy looking at that. He fills it out really well on the low end with like all his defensive mons bringing utility and hazards or speed control, wish passing. I'm just happy all around with the way that this was drafted.
Yeah, I won't lie. His team during the actual draft was looking a bit rough, but he managed to make some uh, grace transactions that I think really helped him out a lot. Like the team had a random hippo for some reason, which was just like kind of weird, because it was just only ever hurting anything else on his team. Like he didn't have anything to abuse it or anything. It was just Hippo over Raikou. And then he made the transaction to drop Hippo and pick up Raikou. And I already liked this team then, but then he made more and he dropped Licky Licky and Articuno and picked up Miltank and Noctowl, which I think are just another two really good picks, especially like were any of the strong like Blacephalon's drafted, so Miltank's just gonna check that week, and you don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, and it even
And
does pretty well into Spectre as well in combination with Florges. I
yeah,
think, or
because you
Zarude
guys,
even. Zarude, he has such good checks to the ghosts.
yeah, the I was mainly looking to see if Gengar was drafted because that was what would have ran his team without the Miltank, but I don't see a Gengar drafted anywhere. But yeah, I really like the team. He's got a couple different rockers. Like Fortress is not a great Pokemon. Please don't bring it that much, but it's at like 6 points, so it's fine. Um, Maybe he could get another Steel type because like what are the Fairy types drafted?
But he has such good fairy
Probably
type
most of
checks
them.
that come so easily in Crobat and Victini that I
Yeah,
don't think
Crobat
he,
and Victini would be able to deal with them.
I don't think he really needs the fortress to check them every week. But the weeks that it comes, it can like set spikes pretty effectively, rapid spin when it needs to. I think that it can come in roles that it needs to come in and just do that one thing that week.
Yeah, his team has a similar problem with mine, where it's like you have these top six mons, but none of them get rocks. So you end up having to bring like Miltank or Rhyperior or Fortress, which isn't bad. Like you still have really good rockers, but it's going to be hard to pick. You're going to have 6 mon syndrome every once in a while.
Yeah, sometimes I think that that can be an issue. But one other thing I actually really like about the team is how fast it is. Like 100, 108, 105, 115, 130, all within your best mons. I think that he just has so much good speed control.
Yeah, it's a really good team. I really like this team.
Mm, do you see any weaknesses? Anything that we can point out that the lovely people here can try to exploit?
Garchomp,
Why do you say that?
because the various Florges. Any physical dragon with a secondary stab is going to be kind of hard for this team to deal with. So even like Flygon is going to be kind of hard, though it's less hard than Garchomp because Crobat can kind of check Flygon.
Fair. I think the real difficult one would be like Tyrantrum. Tyrantrum would go
Yeah,
kind of great.
Tyrantrum's also going to be an issue.
But okay, I think that's good for this one. We can move on to DDR, another team that I really like,
He did just
JCK's
copy
team.
me, and I feel attacked for it.
I think it's like your team if your team was actually good and had like consistent
Oh,
rockers.
true. Yeah,
Yeah.
consistent. Like Neo Queen. Yeah, he does have better rockers than me for sure.
Need a Queen Cavalion come to games pretty easily. Yeah. What this is actually someone who I was helping out a little bit when he was doing the drafting, and I suggested the Sharpedo pickup. Like he was looking at it like, oh, I don't know what my win con is gonna be most weeks, and I thought like Sharpedo at 7 is just such an easy slap onto teams. Your opponent has to keep it their checks to it healthy, otherwise it can reach a point where it just can kind of clean through. And I think it just synergizes really well with Hydreigon and Aegislash in particular to wear down stuff like fairies, waters, darks, etc.
I think I would have liked it a bit more. I saw the transactions. I was not a fan of the Serena Sharpedo pickup. I think I would have liked Sharpedo more if there was something like Jellicent and something else over Bolton and Devotion, if he could even fit that. But I don't know if he can.
Yeah, like maybe. I don't know. I thought spin could be nice. Serena is one that I thought is just overpriced as a mon, but I think it just fits the team pretty well. Um, it does have the really good core of like the Aegislash Hydreigon defensively, Sylveon with Wish to try to keep Aegislash healthy, and I think that having Nidoqueen and Aegislash both to just switch in and dunk on fairies, which are the only really consistent checks to Aegislash, is a big deal.
Yeah, I think overall I like the team. Let's see what this is. I'm trying to think of what I do like Cabalion on the team. Cabalion was one that I was looking to put on mine too, but with the other Pokemon I wanted, it didn't quite fit. But yeah, I don't know. I think it just needed a defensive water, but maybe it'll be fine without one. Because Sharpedo still has like good resist being a dark type, anyways.
Hmm. It does find good opportunities to come in, and I thought like in terms of what the defensive waters were actually checking best. The biggest issue was honestly ground types for this team, but Jellicent doesn't even really check a lot of the best ground types all that well. Like Garchomp still dunks on it with rocks up. Um, and so it was just difficult to find those ones on the low end.
Yeah, especially because if you think about the other ones, it's like Lantern and Marini and stuff, and those are all not going to be able to deal with the ground types either.
There is a Loma Mola, to be fair, at 6 points. After enough crapping on it, it's low, so it could be worth a pickup here, but maybe not.
Let's not torture him too much. You've already given him Serena. Like, come
What?
on.
There's nothing wrong with Serena. I actually also suggested the Bolton pickup, and I think that it's just at 4 points, a pretty good speed control option since ground types are going to be worn down by a lot of months on this team.
Yeah, I think offensively this team is like amazingly put together, and it's just got a lot of natural defensive synergies to go with it.
Yeah. I think with some of the restrictions we put into place for this draft, it's hard to get both. So overall, good team. I don't know if we were really giving ratings. We skipped out on the last one, but I like it. I like the team overall. Ready for the next one?
Yes, sir.
The Dummy Dunsparce. Best logo award, I think, for sure. This is Nuts Team. I see not in the chat here. Feel free to comment on anything that you disagree, by the way.
None of I will say his team name nor logo can be credited to him. This is all laser.
Laser. Oh, that's right. In the chat, he was putting Dummy Dunsparce.
And I just made the logo for it.
This is another team without a rocker in its first 5 months, but at least it has Roserades to bring spikes.
I
toxic
think that's a
spikes.
trend we're gonna see. Because unless you're getting like Ferrothorn or Landorus or Gliscor or something, like it's hard to get a rocker in your first four picks because of the restrictions we had on it.
Mm, we'll see. We'll see. I do like just the sheer amount of offensive power in the team. Like,
It started off so strong. Like Latios, Scizor, Prim, Conk, and Cinnamon Roserade could probably come to every single game and you would probably be fine.
yeah. And then I do wish there was a little bit more in terms of hazard control on the lower end, but I think that it's more a team that opts for let me ignore hazards and just hit you as hard as I can on every turn, which is fine up until you start to run into teams that check you pretty well defensively, and then it can start to be an issue.
Yeah, he did end up taking our advice and getting a ground type.
The ground type is a good pickup here,
Rodriguez.
and then he's got the second electric immunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit on the slow side, like it is just a whole bunch of slow sluggers, and then Latios rather, for the speed control. He does have bullet punch on Scizor actually as well. It's because we dumb as fuck. Last Pokemon.
I
That's the
think
dummy done sparse.
I think I would usually be fine with the speed, but I'm not seeing like a really OP Scarfer. You know what I'm saying? Like a bunch of these Pokemon don't run Scarf that well,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's the actual problem. Because I think 110 is fine to cap out on a team like this, but you want something like Crook or Persimmon or like just a Scarfer around 90 to 80 that's just gonna come every week and be a Scarfer. Like if Incineroar was like Blaziken or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I feel I get what you mean. I think when you double up on the dark type, and both of them are like really good dark types as well, um, they don't cover a whole lot defensively in your top mons, other than the Latios, I guess. I think the Incineroar is a better fit, and I would probably swap out the Moltres for a better Scarfer. The rest of it is like fine. You can get away with only having a rocker and a spiker slash toxic spikes mon. But I think just something where if you don't bring Ladio Scarfed, then anything above 110 is going to be faster than the entirety of your squad. And as much as double priority can revenge it, you then get into a game of like, oh, are they going to switch out? And you don't have the as powerful of a move that these breakers normally want to be clicking.
Yeah. I mean, you think about something like Zera versus this team, that's going to be a very hard week.
Sarah is going to be a very difficult week for sure. Just knocking things
Luckily, I'm
off
looking at
left
it.
and right.
Oh no, Dolphin did draft Zera Aura. So yeah,
Yeah. Okay. I think that that's more or less the comments. Like, very, very strong offensive core, and I think a lot of picks are really good. I think one of the dark types, if it could be swapped out, a double plus might be a little bit more than the rating that we'd give Nut, but
do what?
Nut's just talking in the chat. He said A plus plus for his team.
Mm. Let's see. Let's actually go back and let's give ratings. Dallas Wishmakers A plus at least.
Yeah, I think so. This is an A plus team in my
EDR
books.
A minus.
Okay, I think that that's fair. A minus is fair.
And then I like that said A plus plus minus a couple few rankings.
A plus plus minus a couple few rankings. Okay, I think that that's what we'll stick with. A plus plus minus a couple few rankings. So there you go, Nut. You got your A plus plus. With a little note on the side. A plus plus asterisk. Okay. On to the Kyoto Curlias. So Mare here didn't get the chance to draft while the draft was actually going on and had to kind of pick up from the scraps.
They did get to do it before Grace.
True, true. They did get to do it before Grace. They did end up picking two really excellent Mons left in the 17-point tier and Ferrothorn. Did they have that on the team beforehand, or did they get
Mm-mm.
to?
No, the Ferrothorn was completely undrafted.
Okay, I like really looking at the first five Mons together. I think that those are just super good to be able to get
Yeah,
that in the free agency period. I don't think Moltres or Vaporeon were on the team.
I don't think anything was on the team except circuitry, maybe.
No, because there was Dracozolt beforehand. Um, yeah,
Oh yeah,
I really like this. The Ambipom I think is pretty good as a low tier speed control option, like around 6 points. I would normally prefer going for Tauros, which I think is a bit more threatening at the same point tier, but still a
and I
really
would
good pickup.
also go for Tauros. I also usually go Chinchino, to be
Yeah,
honest.
you're a weirdo. I think Ambipom's actually a little bit better than Chinchino. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Aren't they the exact same?
No, Ambipom gets fighting coverage and Fire Punch, so it can actually hit steals.
Well, I beat a Chinchino up with a. I beat a Registeel with a Chinchino, so
Okay.
don't come at me.
Yeah. The Gardevoir as well is like something I like as a super strong offensive presence. Why, Rick, when I look at the team, do I think that it has problems? Because it seems like
Because
this
I
part
think
of the team is super
Vaporeon needs to
good.
be Blastoise.
Why? Why
I
does
think
Vaporeon need
the
to be Blastoise?
I think the spin option on this team would be really really good because this team does like to hazard stack and will like to hazard stack to tilt a bunch of these calcs. I think Circuitry, even if the Vaporeon stayed, the first six with Circuitry would all be fine. I think Sock, Ambipom, and Swallow are just three weirder picks that probably could be optimized a bit more, but it probably doesn't matter
I
that much.
like the Vaporeon. I think that being able to keep Ferrothorn healthy with the water type like that is so good,
Yeah,
right?
I think I would have opted probably for no guard, Blastoise, and Aromatisse, and then gotten another stronger special breaker and wrapped up my low tiers a bit differently.
But I think overall it has a lot of good things going for it. I think it's a visual ploy that's affecting me more so than the actual quality of the team, and it's going to be really good. Just something about these
Yeah, it has
last
a really
five
cool
months.
purple and it has a cool purple and blue thing going on, and then Moltres just sits there.
Yeah, but like really good hazard control,
I think it's a fine team though.
good offensive pairing. The fire, water, grass, like just defensive, offensive. It brings so much utility to the team. Ferrothorn is an outstanding mon, and then pairing it as well with the water immunity because you don't want Pharaoh getting burnt. I think is another really good thing that Vaporeon brings that Blastoise just couldn't. Um,
Yeah, I think if it could somehow get one more rocker, that would be great. Because not having Glasscore being having to run rocks is like that's how you use Glasscore. But Ferrothorn can run the rocks, but then you're maybe running rocks and spikes, which is also kind of bad.
yeah, or you can just give up spikes that week.
Yeah, but yeah, I think this seems fine.
Yeah, pretty well put together, especially considering that they weren't even able to be around during the draft. So
Hmm.
bonus points for that. Um, I'm thinking probably like similar level to JCK's, probably A minus.
I was gonna say B to be honest.
You were gonna say B. Uh,
Yeah,
okay,
I
let's.
think it might be overall on the same page as Nuts more than JCK's.
Okay, let's meet in the middle. Say B plus, and then call it a day. Move on to the next one.
Better than Nut. That's all that counts.
A plus plus minus a few ranks. Okay, speaking of A plus plus minus a few ranks.
Listen, okay, I'm gonna take the wheel on this one because I have some nitpicks to pit with this nit.
Later said Somali Dragon. That's what she wants us to view the team as. Somali Dragon in the Somali slot.
Let me
Okay.
leak some DMs. I said, if you aren't already, I suggest making a land T plan. It's impossible for anyone to take it. It fits Heatran, and you can wait all draft for it. He said he was thinking about like Zapdos and stuff. I was like, well, I think Lando T will probably end up being better. And then I specifically said you get to dip down early and get the best free point mons like Crobat. That was a hint, Laser. You were supposed to take Crobat.
Okay. So he did not take Crobat. He took Zapdos Galar, which I
And
think is a good
Savala's
mon.
Dragon.
You underrate it. You underrate
No, I
Zapdos
rated it at
Galar.
14.
You
I
rated it
rated it
for
at
it.
14.
Okay, but it's a good 14.
It is. It's fine. I'm more upset that his free tiers look so bad.
Okay. So why don't you elaborate on that? Why don't you elaborate before I take back over?
I just think that if you get to dip down early, you're looking at you can pick up the Crobat. You get one of the fairies. I don't necessarily like the Manaphy on the team. I think getting like Sylveon as the fairy is just better than Whimsicott. And why pick Whimsicott when there's so many grasses that you're going to get to pick before Whimsicott? Like, there's Decidueye, there's Rotomoe, there's Roserade, which also would have been great over Crobat if you didn't want to go Crobat. I just, I don't know. I think going down low and then picking up the Pokemon that he picked is just like, there were better options for sure.
Okay, so you don't like the ones that he picked. Let's talk about how they actually fare together defensively. Any positives, minuses, etc. that they might have. First off, I want to say I'm a big fan of the Hoopa Confined pick. I think that this thing is a low tier demon, and I've
I do too.
always wanted to see it drafted and actually do something, and I have yet to see it drafted. So I have never
Bro,
seen it
you
do
saw me
something.
wipe the floor with Celestial twice with it, man.
Okay, that's back seasons ago, and it didn't really mean much when I saw you use it because you just did the same thing with it every week.
I brought it twice, and it was trick room service, and it popped off. Okay.
Okay, okay, that's good. So, moving on from that, I actually think that the Silvally as an early pickup is pretty nice. Like I'm low on Silvally. I don't think that it's all that great, but the versatility that it brings to a team means that you can kind of keep the field open and then pick based off of what you think you can counter your opponents with. Um, I think Drapion as well is a really high value mon where it's placed. Like it was at 8, wasn't it?
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Yeah. And just bringing the grounded poison, the dark typing, the toxic spikes, knockoff spam, like the poison grounds just compress so many roles into a single Pokemon, and I think that they fit really well on a lot of teams. Um, I don't understand where the speed went because I was looking at this earlier, and normally Whimsicott is like a little blip on my screen, so I don't even really pay attention to it. And when I first looked at this team, I thought that there was no mon over base 100, but then I saw Whimsicott as the speed control, and I think that it would have been a little bit nicer to have like a 120, maybe an Inteleon would have been a demon on this team, or like
I
Rick
think
said,
I have
Crobat.
figured out. I think I figured out what it should have been. It should have been like Roserade, because Zapdos Galar's fine,
Greninja would
but
have been a
like,
really good one.
yeah,
Laser.
Greninja would have been fine. But with Zapdos Galar, you really want to be forcing other people to defog. So Greninja was good because you would have gotten that spikes option. But when it got sniped, like Roserade was there at the time. Like you could have taken it, and it knocks off your um, grass type. You don't really need the ground resist because you have Lando T and Zapdos Galar both at that point. You get another spikes option to force people to defog in front of Zapdos Galar because that's when it's going to pop off.
I do think
Is when
that's
it gets that,
actually a really good point where having the hazard stack means you can get the Zapdos Galar in and just go crazy with it.
and then you could have went like Talonflame, which you had Heatran. I guess you didn't need Talonflame, but you could have went Noivern. Noivern would have actually been really good.
Northern, you have the double like ice, super ice week, which a lot of people can be pretty averse to.
Yeah, but he's got Manaphy Heatran. Like it would have been fine.
Fair. Is Noivern even still on the board actually? That could be
I
something
have
that
no
could
idea.
slot in somewhere, maybe. Yeah, something worth considering, Laser. If you wanted to. But overall, I think the Zapdos as a Scarfer saves a lot of the speed control because it's just such a consistent Scarf Mon. And if you had a little bit more hazard pressure as well to put that on, so that it comes in on a defog and gets a +2 Scarf Brave Bird to just clean through teams, I think that that would be able to go crazy as well.
Yes, sir. The Savali pick's fine. Don't bring Savali Dragon every week.
I think I'm on board with not bringing Savali Dragon every week. Savali is definitely fine. I like the versatility Savali brings to a team. I think that it's got a good presence on the squad. Hard to predict what it's actually going to do, and so it just takes a little bit of time to figure out what it's actually going to be doing in a match for the user.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm feeling like B minus. What do you think?
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
Okay, on to the next one.
A plus plus minus a few more rakes than most plus.
Solid B minus.
True.
Yeah, versus Nuts like kind of shaky B. So okay, I like the look of the team. Just to begin with, I see Regenerator Mons in a row, and I think that it's got a lot of merit just from the get. I think Klefki is a
Yeah.
really good pairing as well. Super good with Torn, Slowking.
This team start was one of those other ones that started out really well, and it got good again in Grace, I think.
Hmm.
But towards the end of the draft, it was kind of shaky. It wasn't one of my favorites. It had like Swampert and a different low tier dark type that I don't remember. Skunting. It had Swampert, Skunting, and Cradilly, and those were dropped for Croak, Vileplume, Lunatone, which
Hmm.
I think make the team a lot better.
I agree. I agree that that is a really big improvement. I think that Crook paired with Torn and Slowking is also a super good defensive core. Like you have those two Regenerators Mons, and then Crook is like deceptively bulky while also being offensive. Um, the big thing as well is like in this gen where boots are so prevalent, you have knockoff, 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 and then a really good spiker to be able to actually put pressure onto a lot of teams with that, plus the regen. So I think in games where it even has like a difficult matchup breaking, it can just remove items, set hazards, pivot around, and then always has that setup threat of Volcarona to just potentially clean through teams.
Yeah, Volcaros would be scary.
I really like the future port into Mienshao as well. Like Slowking plus Mienshao is such a good pairing. You get the future sight off, you teleport, and then Mienshao is just like raining down hellfire with its banded close combat or reckless high jump kick. Fun fact: I've OHKO'd a Mega Scizor with a banded reckless high jump kick from Mienshao. So that thing is actually insanely strong.
Yeah, it's super strong. I think ISU is going to win one game. I'm putting that out there now.
Yeah. Well, we know
Yeah.
it's there to check her Shifu single strike, so
Yes, sir.
I think some weaknesses of the team are going to be like strong electrics. I think the Rotoms are going to be a difficult matchup because as soon as the Crook switches in on a Wisp or like Rotom Heat is able to come in and get um, the fire move off.
Rotom Wash surprisingly is not that bad of a matchup. Neither is Rotom Mo because of Vileplume. I think Rotom Heat's about the only one that has a pretty good matchup here.
Yeah, and I mean even Heliolisk, like the dry skin to be able to absorb Scald from Raikou, Hydro Pump, just water types in general. I think that that's a really good fit on the team actually.
Yeah, there's not much I can say about this team. I like this team. Feels like a team I would have put together at some point. if
Hmm.
I was ever going to draft Volcarona.
Yeah, really good mixed offenses, really good bulk, pivoting, solid team. I'm
Is
feeling
there a rocker? There's
Crook.
one rocker and it's Crook. So I mean,
Well,
that's
you
another
got
kind of weakness.
Lunatone.
But
Don't forget Lunatone.
oh yeah, Lunatone.
Lunatone's all right. Um, it could use more hazard setting, but then where do you get it and still have the same rolls being compressed on your top end? I know Klefki is Spike Cyber. I was talking about how good of a spiker it is for the team earlier.
The defoggers are Klefki and Torn, but hopefully with Klefki you'll be forcing other people to defog more.
Yeah, and at the same time, you've got like boots, boots, boots. Even Helios runs boots really easily. So I like this team. I would give it a solid A.
I was even going to give it more than that. I was going to give it like S minus, maybe A plus.
I wouldn't go that high. I think I'd personally be at A. I still like Hero's team better than I like this one.
Yeah, I like this one better than. Do I like it better than JCK's? I don't know. Maybe I like them the same.
Okay, JCK, I think A minus then, and we can move on to the next. We got the Richmond Scissors. This is G Fry's team. I was looking at this as the draft was happening, and I didn't know how I felt about it.
I felt iffy. I I don't know. I think I like what Shaded did with his Necrozma team, and he went Necrozma Lando T, and Lando T was there for G Fry to take on the way back, and he went Infernape, which is like also fine, but I don't know. I feel like there were better things to put with Necrozma. Like I don't know if Hydreigon was still open at that point or not, but that was something that could have went with it.
I like I sniped me with half the team. Okay, well, at least he and Tran are like-minded in terms of the way that they'd be drafting then. Um, I like the Infernape. I don't have any problem with his initial pickups, especially because like those are two rockers who you can kind of flex between running either of them alongside other rockers that you have later on. You get speed control, and you just get like Necrozma's a type of Pokemon I just call a slugger. And I think that its entire way that it gets played is that it takes hits and just dishes them out twice as hard. And then you have Infernape, which is like a really good cleaner while also can function as a breaker, just given how it has that mixed move set. Plus Gren, who can kind of do a very similar thing of just being a super good breaker while they both bring a lot of speed to the team. Where was I going with
Yeah,
that though?
I'm fine with the two tier twos. I guess it's just like after Thunderous, every way this team was rounded out is just weird, and it feels weird, and it looks weird.
Elaborate. What do you mean by feels weird, looks weird?
Like Donphan, Weezingale, Metagross all kind of feel redundant, especially Donphan Metagross, because they're all pretty physical, bulky walls. Um, they're all gonna seemingly probably check the same Pokemon. Metagross and Donphan are gonna switch between having rocks, which is fine. But like, I don't know. I feel like it needed like this team is going to get wrecked by a strong special attacker. It's just going to happen. We were talking about the ghosts that were drafted. Blacephalon's going to run this team. Aegislash is going to run this team.
True. It does. It is going to have a lot of. Well, you have Guzzlord there specifically for the Blacephalon. I think more like offensive waters, like an Inteleon, is going to be really difficult for this team. Just because it's faster than everything except Greninja and threatens the like Oko or to a KO.
Yeah.
Mm, something like that Sharpedo that's on JCK's team is probably going to have a very good matchup. That does have a
Yeah,
very good matchup into this team.
it does have a very good matchup. The High Dragon on JCK's team has an amazing matchup into this team.
True. Uh, yeah, I do think you're right. Where one of the Donphan, Metagross, Weezing probably should have been more focused on a check to special attackers because all those are such physically defensive oriented Pokemon.
The
Um,
Laddies like rate this team.
that's a pretty good
I'm
point
trying
too.
to I'm trying to look through those tiers because I'm sitting here saying that, but in reality, I don't know how I would have fixed it off the top of my head.
Mm, like a lot of the mons we've said are kind of checked pretty well by a more specially defensive fairy. So maybe something like an Aromatisse or Florges would have been better for him
Hatterene,
on this team.
Hatterene could have been good.
Mm, yeah. Well, then you're going triple psychic. So that would have also forced Metagross to change.
Yeah, I think Metagross should change anyways, and or Donphan should change one of the two. The Wheezing, I've used Wheezing Galar. I'm not a huge fan of it. I think it probably has a niche on some teams, but this team just isn't one of them.
Okay. I really like the Guzzlord pick. I'm a newfound Guzzlord believer. I think that it fills a good role here, checking a lot of the ghosts that this team would have trouble with. Um, and just generally
Yeah,
like has good offensive pressure. Guzzlord
yeah.
respect.
I like the Guzzlord. Guzzlord's like 5 points now. There's not much use in hating on things under that. Anyways,
Oh yeah. Sire just mentioned can't wait for the 6-0 sweep. I think was it Nut who had a replay of Guzzlord 6-0ing someone? That was a good
yeah, I think
time.
so.
It was a good time. Um, Delmise is also kind of weird, I think, as a grass here. Like maybe even if that was a Shaman, I just don't know if you need the double spin if you do keep the Donphan around.
Well, like Decidueye is open. You could just go to Decidueye.
True. Delmise, this is UI.
I'm trying to see if there's any higher tier grasses that are open worth taking, but it doesn't look like it.
The team really struggles with bulky waters though. Like as soon as Delmise gets burnt, how do you ever break one? Thunderous?
No, it
So
have to be, but it's like Thundy's not going to come in on any of them.
true, it really doesn't want to come in on them. Especially because it wants the option to be able to run like Scarf and
I think
Specs.
that's it. I think I realized that's what my problem with the team is. All its pivoting is wrapped up in Infernape Grand Torn or Thundy. Like none of his defensive Pokemon pivot between each other,
True.
or really none of his defensive Pokemon pivot into an offensive Pokemon to get the team rolling. Feels like this team is, if it gets on its back foot, it's going to stay there.
Yeah, it doesn't really have a good way to reclaim momentum back into its favor. Uh, and I think a lot of the defensive mons like Donphan, Metagross, Delmise are kind of sluggers similar to Necrozma, where they don't really want to be coming in on attacks very often, and more often they want to be eating up hits and just hitting back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that we've said what we're going to say about the team. I think it has a lot of power at the very least, and it's going to be breaking through stuff. Uh, but it's going to depend on how easily it actually gets those breakers onto the field a lot of the time in order for
Yeah,
probably Gren and Fernape to be able to clean up a match or even maybe like an agility Thunderous.
yeah.
Okay. Rating probably another B, B minus.
I was gonna say like C plus. I think this is definitely worse than the ones we've seen so far.
Okay. On to the next one.
Dolphin squared. He is a man after my own heart. I will
What
say
makes you
that
say that?
much. He drafted Zeraora Rillaboom.
Is that what you wanted to do?
I've wanted to do that for 3 years. Just never have.
Okay.
It's like one of the first cores I've ever thought of, and I was like, I want to draft this, and I just have never done it yet.
So we have the flip side right away here that I'm noticing. Like Fry had the super physically defensive team, and now I'm looking special wall, special wall, special
Yeah,
wall right in a
Blissey,
row.
Muck, Mantine. It's all to cover Duraludon. Duraludon has a passive ability to where if you draft 3 special walls, it actually gets good special defense.
I think that the Zera Rillaboom Nidoking is a super good offensive pairing together. Um, and then I don't fully follow where the team was supposed to go after that.
I think the Blissey was even a fine pick. Like I'm like Blissey's kind of bad, but I don't care when people pick it up, especially on a kind of team like this. I think if you wanted to go second poison, should have been Crobat. Should have definitely picked up Talonflame though, in my opinion. Um, the Muck is just not needed. Like it feels like the Muck was just a Dark type pickup, and I think you could have gotten a different Dark type. But I don't. I'm trying to think of the ones that are there. I don't even really know what it should have been.
Yeah, he has
Like
the double dark,
Groudon on
like
this
he has
team wouldn't have been
Spiritomb
bad.
again. Like,
Let's see. Honestly, Moltres Galar on this team wouldn't have been bad.
yeah, but we had not swooping in and picking up that Moltres Galar away from everyone.
True. Yeah, no, it's another one of those that's like everything feels redundant, pretty much past the Blissey. Like I don't know why you would need Rabombi when you've got Zero or Rillaboom being your two breakers. You got the fastest Mon and then a Mon with strong priority. So there's
Yeah,
like no point in webs unless you want to use it for Nidoking, but on this type of team, Nidoking doesn't need it.
true. And then it mostly looks to me like it was kind of checking off types that weren't there yet, and then Spiritomb.
Yeah.
Like
Like this team
the
didn't need a
Spiritomb I
dark.
actually like with Blissey because when I first looked at the team, I thought like, oh my goodness, it's so weak to fighting types. Like in Urshifu Rapid, just throw Thunder Punch on to hit the Mantine, and then all of a sudden it's like you just never switch into it, and it comes in so easily on Blissey, Muck, Duraludon.
Yeah.
So at least it helps check that. Um,
This is actually a team Jellicent fits on. I think Blissey Jellicent together because there's a Pearl team that has those two together. I looked at those and I was like, that's kind of tough to break, to be honest.
True. Those would be a solid pairing. Get rid of the Mantine, put on the Jellicent. I honestly don't know what changes to say other than like I would personally toss out the bottom six Pokemon for another six Pokemon. This is my personal least favorite team that I've seen so far.
Least favorite you said?
Yeah,
Yeah, I think just the Muck through Spiritomb need to change. I think Delphox is probably even fine, but the Muck through Spiritomb just feels redundant, feels not needed, and can definitely be optimized a lot more.
Mhm. Okay. So C minus. We on board with that one?
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Retirement
still got
U-turn.
Dolphin. Still got Dolphin winning the whole thing though. That's my boy. Number one Dolphin fan.
Okay. I like this team. I had it at a glance when I was kind of looking through the matchups that were being played this week, and I thought that it just fits together super well. I'm recently riding the Volcanion train after using that thing in OU. It is so strong and it's so much fun. I'm super happy to see it picked up and especially be drafted around so well.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the better teams even across all four divisions. Like The Scolipede on this team actually feels so threatening, and like it fits a good role. It can even play defensively on this team if it wants to, and just
Hmm.
set up T spikes and spikes. Yeah,
Yeah. Plus, you have some really good bulky pivots to just try to get a lot of these crazy breakers in, like Yuxi, Rotom Mo. Togekiss can even run Baton Pass. But the big thing about Chomp, Melmetal, and Volcanion as well is just that they come in on a lot of Pokemon very easily to actually be able to enable themselves as breakers. So they have so much power while also having so much bulk.
crap, you're right, Rogers. This team actually sucks, and I hate Rogers so much, and I will never be nice to
Yeah, it's actually so good. You have like the Fairy Dragon Steel Core pairs together super nicely. I think Volcanion and Rotom are a really good pairing as well. Scolipede, like we've already talked about, just as an offensive cleaner, you can set up a Swords Dance. Like on the fairy types that threaten Garchomp, you get damage off, and then it's like, okay, let me go set up a Swords Dance with Scolipede. Or on any Moonblast or Ice Beam that's coming this way, you get your Volcanion onto the field to fire off a Spec Steam Eruption. Arrow can even be like a almost suicide rocker, but also has good defensive utility throughout a game. But
Yeah,
talk
I
about
like the fact that this team actually picked up different rockers that weren't Garchomp because I feel like every other most of the other Garchomp teams I saw across the four divisions made the mistake of just having Garchomp be their main rocker, which is like it's bad. I think the Uxie Lake Spirits are always good to pick up with things like Garchomp. I think unless you're wanting to hit a 95 speed tier, I probably would have went Mesprit. I think Mesprit's a little bit better and in the same point tier,
hmm
but Uxie's still fine.
Laser said, but talk about how to beat his team. I think the answer is have a Tapu Koko on your squad, and then you'll have a really good matchup.
What are you talking about? There's a Kamala right there, man.
Okay, okay, Kamala right there. Unironically, Laser, I think that your Heatran is actually pretty difficult for his team to deal with. As long as you're playing around the Garchomp pretty effectively. Mm,
On the flip side, you don't switch into his Volcanion.
you don't. Oh, that's true. Oh, we see it. This is wait, this is the exact matchup this week. I didn't even notice.
Oh, true. It is. Yeah, you get 6 0'd by Volcanion. Probably Garchomp too.
Okay, well, no, the Garchomp he is a decent enough matchup into. Um, I think that the Zapdos Galar looks like it has a good matchup, but the Garchomp's very difficult. The Volcanion is going to be very difficult to keep up with. So
Rogers has promised one Kamala sweep, and I think this might be the week that he does it. So I would look out for that.
but yeah, it's just got a lot of really good elements, tons of power, good hazard control, good speed control. Like the offensive mons have really good defensive utility as a pairing together. And then it has a Scrafty as well, which I think was an underrated demon as a 4 pointer this draft.
It's alright.
Same with Kamala. Kamala underrated demon at 2 points.
That I agree with. Kamala is a goaded boy.
Yeah,
Solid, solid S on this team. I think it's probably my favorite Diamond team.
I think so too. I would also give it an S. Okay, on to Cran's team, the St.
Wait, this is
John's
Cran's team?
Sharpedos.
Are you sure? There's no Halusha on this team. I'm not sure this is Cran's team. I guess there is a Gudra. If there's two Pokemon that Cran has an obsession with, it's Gudra and Halucha.
Why do you think he has an obsession with Gujo?
I feel like I see Gudra on his team all the time. Cran, am I wrong saying you have an obsession with Gudra?
What did he
A
say?
healthy. He said he has a healthy one.
A healthy obsession with Gudra. Yeah, we will be uploading this. You just made me double check that I was recording, and I think that we are indeed recording. So we will be uploading this. uh,
That
okay,
would have been bad.
so let's talk about this team. I see like a defensive core out the wazoo in Pex, Tangrowth, Bronzong,
Mandibuzz. Don't forget Mandibuzz.
and Mandibuzz. True, 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 true. I think I've drafted literally that exact same those three Pokemon. I don't remember if I had Mandibuzz on the team. That was my Garchomp Mega Gallade team. So he's followed my team structure there of two offensive Pokemon on the entire team, and then everything else is dedicated to just walling.
Yeah, except his two offensive Pokemon do well together.
What do you mean?
Coco Blacephalon, bro, they about to sweep.
Well, they're good. Don't get me wrong, they're good. I just don't appreciate you talking shit about my Mega Gallade Garchomp team.
Well, you've tried it twice now, and it hasn't worked either time.
You know what they say, third time's the charm. Okay,
Yeah,
so the defensive core is like very difficult to break unless you have taunt.
and spikes. Like Tang Pegs, their biggest weakness is always going to be spike stack. Um, but backing it up with a Bronzong Amanda Buzz, I think you'll probably be fine because those two aren't going to care too much about the hazards. I think the Claydol is not needed here. I usually hate on Claydol. We've got it pretty low this season, so I'm not going to hate on it. But I do think it's not needed for the team.
Hmm. It does.
Hitmonlee, I will say, I wouldn't usually draft it on a Coco team. Cran likes his
Oh, it's an
unburdened
unburdened
features.
mon.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a better unburdened than Halucha, anyways,
Why do you say
because
that?
it just hits so hard, and it doesn't need to actually be unburdened because it gets reckless, right?
It does. Reckless high jump kick.
Yeah, reckless high jump kick's gonna be pretty good in a couple weeks.
True. That's a pretty good breaking set. Even with like Scarf Reckless high jump kick. Um, okay. I feel like this is a team where you're almost going to want to bring Shed Shell Toxapex because you get caught by like a Fire Spin taunt Pokemon and all of a sudden it's like crap.
Yeah, the nuts heat. I mean, lasers heat like runs through this team.
Well, you got the
But
Gudra there,
yeah,
but
but Magma Storm, Protect, Toxic, Taunt, like it's just over.
no, it needs Earth Power. Like you'd still have to run Magma Storm, Earth Power, Protect. I do think that that would be a super hard matchup, especially like if you get damage onto the Gudra or Toxic off onto the Gudra, or if it's forced to click like Rest Hawk, then you're in trouble. But like even Talonflame, like if your Talonflame check is Toxapex and then it starts clicking Fire Spin, Taunt, like that just does really well into a lot of these Pokemon here.
Yeah, it does.
That's my biggest problem with any super bulky defensive core that's meant to just wall you to the end of the earth is just that there's so many sets that you have to think of and have things accounted for, and if you get caught off guard by one of them, then it's just like a crap, what do I even do moment. Because you almost need everything when you bring it because you have to have Pex to check two Pokemon, you have to have Mandibuzz to check one, Tangrowth to check one, and so
Yeah, this isn't a stall team, but the defensive core feels like it plays like a stall one, where it's like once one of them dies, it becomes really easy to start breaking the rest. But when they're all alive, they're really hard to break with each other.
mhm,
So if you can get rid of one of them, it becomes like, okay, now I don't have to worry about Toxapex. I can just click Scald and Ice Beam on these other three and be completely fine.
yeah, and you just I think the game is a race for getting into a position for Tapu Koko and Blacephalon to win. versus getting versus the core being broken defensively. Like if we were to think about these six as the main six that are being brought in a given week.
Hmm. You're gonna have to play the team in a way where you're gonna have to start conditioning people to worry about your defensive core, and then take a turn where you can say, okay, like they've switched in their, I don't know, what threatens Tangrowth or Tox. They switched in their grass type on Toxapex the past 3 times. I'm gonna make an aggressive play into Blacephalon right now and actually start making progress.
Yeah. Okay. I'm thinking that it's like a B plus team.
Yeah, I would say that.
Okay. On to the Toronto Greninjas. I see Hero saying, Hero, did I get done yet? Yes, unfortunately, alphabetically, you were the very first one to be done. You're right at the top.
Don't worry, we're posting it as long as Tago is still recording.
I'm still recording. And it looks like your audio is still being captured. So, look, we're in good shape. That's it. That's a good one. Just to show what Hero's done here, he is the little Pukumuku FU. Hilarious emote. Okay. This
This
was
was one of the teams I am upset about. I liked his original team a lot more than this one.
why?
I think he had Corv, Starmie, Jolteon, Meloetta, Magmortar, and he dropped those for Zapdos, Cinderace, Alomomola, Registeel, type Null. I just kind of liked Corv a lot more on the team. And Starmie was great on this team. I guess like he really wanted Cinderace, but I felt like Starmie paired with Clef Corv's Mints so well. Um, the rest I could really care less about. Um, I just thought that Corv and Starmie being dropped was crazy to me. I thought those top four Mons paired with like the Mudsdale that he has, and even the Meloetta that he had at the time was really good. But I'm not too much in love with this one anymore. I think having the second flying type that wasn't weak to ice was really nice because you're looking at the ice resist now being Meloetta Cinderace. Um, so having Corv not be weak to that was great. Having Corv be the fairy resist instead of Registeel, seeing as how I feel like Corv just can do a lot more than Registeel and enables a lot of the Pokemon better, like enables Mints better and can get Clef on the field little bit easier, was also better. Um,
I don't know. I think Zapdos is like it's a much better mon than Corv, and it pairs really nicely with Clefable. Um, Mence is still good. My biggest problem with the team is kind of like Chestnut on. All of them feel. I really like Mudsdale as a mon. I just don't know how well it pairs with the rest of the team at that point. All of them just start to look a lot more underwhelming. And then I think about something even like what's a good ice type mon? Like a Mamoswine would just absolutely
well,
go crazy here.
Kirim, because Kirim's actually drafted in this.
Kirim as well is on the last team, I guess. We haven't talked about a Kirim team yet, but that's going to be very
Uh,
difficult to handle.
yeah,
Oh,
and Weavile's also drafted. Like, I just think the matchup into the teams that I saw with the original team was good, and then the transactions were made, and it feels like the matchups into teams now are worse.
yeah, I think that that's fair. I like Clefable as a mon, and I think that that is still going to have the potential to win a lot of games. Like you'll have DD Ments that has a really good matchup some weeks, and it's going to kind of be able to go crazy. But I think that the defensive core that was picked up is all just mons that really sit on the field and don't generate much when they're there. Like as soon as a Lomomola Registeel type null get taunted, that's a bit of a pain. Type null can just U-turn out. but Alomomola, like Registeel, lose a
Yeah,
lot
to
of
be
the
honest,
boots that they want to do.
this team needed Empoleon, I think. Like looking through the draft board to see what's open that could help it. I think Empoleon does pretty well with this team.
Yeah.
Like
There's no
drop
grounded
Registeel for
poison
an
either.
Empoleon. Yeah, you could drop Chestnut for like I don't it was grass poison.
I don't know if it
Or like
really needs it, given that like you have Clef, Zapdos, Mence as some of your top mons that are going to be coming to a lot of games. It's very just. It looks like it has two modes, and the defensive mode is just super like sit there and do nothing, with the exception of Clefable.
yeah. I'm still trying to look through the draft board to see if I can pick up on any mons that might help it more, but the only thing I've seen so far is Empoleon.
Yeah, I let's talk about some of the positives. I think that's enough of a critique. I like a lot of the hazard control that it has. I don't particularly think Chestnut's a great spiker, but Clefable as a rocker is super consistent in getting them up. Registeel and Mudsdale as well. And you've even got like Cinderace as a kind of cheeky court change Pokemon, which I always forget about when I'm going up against it, but it's just a really cool role that it can fulfill. The Cinderace brings pretty important speed control to the team, and I think that it fits really nicely. Uh, Especially with Zapdos, I think those two just pair together offensively really well. Where like Cinderace will U-turn out on the waters into Zapdos coming in and either Volt switching out or firing off a Hurricane or something like that. Um, Alomomola, I honestly don't even really have a problem with. I think that it being able to fire off wishes that heal fully anything that's coming in on it uh, are pretty good here. And it has a lot of Pokemon that benefit from the just stupidly bulky water. Because I said earlier that it's weak to Mamoswine, but with the Lomomola, that's like easily one of the best checks to it, and so it would have to be a Mamoswine plus super spike stack team, in which case you can run boots. And I take back what I said about a Lomomola. I think that that's a good fit. Registeel, I think, should change, and then Chestnut, I think, would change. Zoroark too.
I think if Chestnut became like a more middling, like a Decidueye, I think it'd end up being better. I think it's because there's so many Pokemon in a row here that are like strictly defense, strictly defense, strictly defense. You know what I'm saying? Like it needs something that can like kind of play the middle of those roles.
Yeah, something to kind of bridge the gap between offensive and defensive
Yeah,
a little bit more often. I agree. That's a good
it's not a
point.
bad team
Or
overall though. I
a good
think
way to
it's
put it.
still fine.
Yeah, I would still put it at kind of like the B range, so it has a lot of things going for it, but is just gonna have some issues.
Yeah, I would say. I think that's the reason I like the Starmie and Meloetta picks and the before he made transactions a little bit better because I think those two Pokemon help bridge that gap a little bit more.
Hmm. Okay, on to Zan, the Fighting Zangoose with the first pick hero.
Yes, sir.
This was a team that confuses me when I look at it, but I actually think it has a lot of really good elements. I think that like Hiram and Tapu Fini actually pair super well together. Where because Kiram's an ice type, it doesn't resist the fire types, but Fini's a super good fairy to be able to try to pair in that. And like
Mhm.
Kiram loves having hazards as well to try to wear down the steel types because none of them want to be wearing boots. Um, so Kiram coming in, firing off ice beams while Skarmory's setting up spikes, Skarmory is a good switch into a lot of the steel types that would check Kyurem and get spikes up when Kyurem gets in, and so you force product progress with kind of like that three mon core in a lot of games very easily.
Yeah, I actually really like the Nihilego on this team as like another special fire resist
Hmm.
and just a Pokemon that's gonna threaten a bunch of the things that Kyurem like I think Nihilego and Kyurem are gonna be able to break for each other pretty well. They both put a bunch of pressure on steel types to check them,
Hmm.
so one of them's eventually gonna break through it.
Yeah. I think with that, I wish the team just had more speed control that wasn't two webs mons.
Yeah.
Like I think that the final six, somewhere in the Arcanine, Cresselia, Vikavolt, like I think the last two mons are fine. Virizion, Palisand, and Smeargle at one point is like whatever, but I think the three mons in the middle, like you need to pick up some speed. You've already got good defensive capabilities, and you don't really need the Cresselia as kind of the like emergency check to Pokemon. Um, and I think Vikavolt especially is a little bit redundant with the Skarmory. And I would have much rather liked to see like a fast electric, like Jolteon in that pairing would have been such a good defensive pairing with the rest of the team.
Yeah, I think even like oh Heliolisk is taken. I was gonna say Heliolisk.
I don't think you really
Uh,
need the Heliolisk water immunity because like Kyurem comes in on the waters, Feeny comes in on the waters super well. Um, and it's more just the the speed control. Jolteon I liked for the added electric immunity because then with Arcanine you cover both of Skarmory's two weaknesses, and
mhm.
you kind of threaten a lot of pressure with getting those Mons in and onto the field, especially with the spike stack from Skarmory. I think that Arcanine and Jolteon's checks would get worn down pretty quickly too. Mm. Even with Nihilego, like the ground types and grasses that would check Jolteon best, you just Volt Switch on into Nihilego, and Nihilego like gets a grass knot off to try to wear down the ground types, or gets to just threaten out the poisons, and you build up spikes damage. Yeah. That being said, I think it also probably needs maybe one more rocker that's not Palisand. I think Skarmory wants to run spikes both week, and you want Nihilego to be able to have all of its move slots a lot of the time for like power, meteor beam, power gem, grass move, fairy, poison, etc.
Yeah, maybe if the Cresselia was like also a Mesprit or the Uxie that Rogers has.
Yeah, then it would be a bit of a better fit for the team. Wait, oh, I was looking at the hazards in the bottom and thinking there are four, but it's Smeargle. And I don't know
Yeah.
if you can really count Smeargle. Smeargle counts. Okay, shaded.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think overall the team is pretty good. Think I think the trend that we've noticed most of the time is like everybody's really good at picking their top 4 or 5 and is rounding out the bottom of the team that always feels kind of weird to at least me and you.
Hmm. I would probably put it in again the B plus range.
Yeah, I can see that. I think it's one of the better ones around that tier though. Like I just love the top 4 together. I think the top 4 together are gonna like fit so well, and Kiram Fini Nihilego are gonna pressure so much.
Agreed. I think paired with Skarmory too. Like Skarmory is such a perfect defensive pairing for those mods.
Yeah.
Okay, so to recap, our favorite team was Rogers, and he is retirement U-turn. Next favorite, mine was Hero. Who did you have?
Mine was also Hero.
Okay, and then I'm trying to remember who else was like an A plus range team. Oh,
JCK was and Kylie was, I think.
yes. So Kylie's team here, JCK's team here. Those, I think we're both pretty solid together on that. Those are the top four, in our
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, I think so. I think almost everyone else was around the B to B plus range.
Yeah, and all those are. It was A or above, right? You said A minus for JCK, but I think it's an A team, like pretty solidly.
Yeah, after looking at the other ones, I think it's an A.
Okay, and so that kind of covers our entire diamond recap. We'll be back in 20 minutes for Pearl.
Amen.
I just gotta run to the washroom and get some water. Yeah, so we'll see you later. I'm wrapping up the recording now.